cancer was one of the greatest gifts I was given, because really, like, when I can look at where it showed up and all the pieces, the elements of it, it's always messages that we get through our body, the anxiety, the depression, cancer, whatever it may be. It's just messages. It's just telling us what's out of alignment. And that's why I'm so grateful. It was just pointing me to where I needed to heal.
What's up, everybody? I'm your host, Patrick Cook. Welcome to Being. Being is a place where we gather to explore some of life's most difficult questions. What does it mean to lead a meaningful life? What does it mean to live a life of purpose or on purpose? How do we make sense of the world? Really, what we're asking is, what the hell is going on? My intention with this podcast is to explore what it means to be human in the modern world through the lens of creativity, consciousness, and personal development. Through authentic conversations with a wide array of guests, including artists, intellectuals, scientists, visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders, Being ventures to make collective sense of an increasingly complex world with the unifying goal of building a sustainable future for all. As humanity continues to march full steam towards extinction, we can no longer afford to simply ask, what is best for me? The question now must become, what is best for me and the whole simultaneously? And so, dear audience, I want to inspire you to take full responsibility, to find your purpose, and to engage your evolution as a conscious agent. I challenge you to live your being. If you're enjoying the content, please do subscribe to the show and get a new episode delivered directly to your device every Friday. And as always, I love hearing from you. So please do rate and review the episode on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or whichever platform you prefer. For show notes and more information, head on over to being-podcast.com. Now, on with the show. Johannah Conant is a tantric embodiment coach, speaker, and author. She serves as a tantric practitioner, bowspring yoga instructor, Reiki 2 practitioner, and an Ayurvedic practitioner. She also has 20 years of experience in the mental health field with a master's degree in clinical counseling. As she consistently expands her circle of influence and joyously shares her gifts with the world, she is now drawn to share the incredible healing power of sacred medicines with her clients. Johannah Conant, welcome to Being. How are you?
Hi, Patrick. I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm so excited you're here. We actually met about a year and a half ago in Boulder, Colorado when I was passing through. And so I had a chance to hug you and feel your energy and spend a few minutes together. And then since then, we've sort of been orbiting each other in the online sphere and just admiring you and your work and your transformation, your journey from afar. And it was about a couple of weeks ago now that I saw a Facebook post that you put up, and it was recalling an incident you had about 9 years ago when you had a DUI. And I was like, oh my, it was such a powerful post and it resonated so deeply for me. I was immediately like, we have to have Johannah on the show. So here we are. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Awesome. So maybe that's a good place to start. Where were you 9 years ago? What happened?
Yeah. So 9 years ago, there was a little, let's see. I was going to build up to that, but really, I was, in my like dream career serving as a drug and alcohol therapist, and I got a DUI.
Wow.
And so I got pulled over. I was in the back of the cop car, and I knew at that moment, actually you could hear me on the recording in the back of the car saying, I'm going to lose my career because of this.
Wow.
And lo and behold, I was forced to resign. And what it did was it sent me into this tailspin, and really it dropped me back into this place where I had been 10 years previous. And I realized that I had really built my identity, my self-worth, my value in the world on my work. Because 10 years previous to that, I had been in the bar scene. I was a dancer at a strip club, just kind of living this wild life, partying a lot. And I finished college, and went on to be a therapist. And, I'd gotten out of abusive relationships and just some really dark places. But all my self-esteem, all my worth was built on what I was doing, what I was producing, my accomplishments, the degrees, all these things. And when that got stripped away from me, I landed right back in that same place I had been 10 years before, back in the club. I was bartending. And I told myself that no one's going to hire a therapist with a pending DUI. So I just went to this whole other extreme and was in this really dark place for about 2.5 years. And I started, using drugs that I had never used before and started partying even harder. And it was really like probably about 6-7 days a week. I was going at it pretty hard.
Wow.
And I had a lot of signs come up during that time. A lot of people show up in my life, and I just wasn't ready to hear it. And, I continued on that path for, like I said, 2.5 years. And then in ignoring the signs, my body started to speak to me. And I had a little mark on my arm that I knew something was wrong. Just intuitively, I'm like, something isn't right here. And but I didn't have time to do anything about it because I was too busy partying and drinking. And so I just slapped a Band-Aid over it for several months. And in that time, it had metastasized, ended up being stage 3 cancer.
Wow.
And so really, you would think that would be what would slow me down, would stop me from the drinking and the partying, but it didn't. I think a week before my surgery, I was at a festival in Chicago, like getting down. So I even went into surgery like in a not well state, and just really in denial of how serious it was. And I found out that I had to do a year of treatment. And that was devastating. So what that turned into was I was literally doing, like, the first month of treatment, I was literally doing lines of cocaine and drinking. And after that first month of treatment, I had to give myself shots every month for part of treatment for a year. And I had a girlfriend that would come over, and I was petrified of needles. Like, that is like in college, I went to, when you're that broke college student and you're trying to find any way to make money. Back in undergrad, I went to go give plasma, and they just pricked my finger, and I was like, "Whoa," and just passed out. Like, needles were not my thing. So part of this path that year was I had to give myself shots 3 times a week. So what I was doing was filling up my shot glass with tequila and taking shots to be able to get the courage to give myself my shots.
Wow.
And, that went on for a couple months, and I had this big, huge crew of friends, this 50 friends I could reach out to anytime, and we could just meet up and hang out. And in that time, everything in my life slowed down and stopped and, came in, and everyone's lives continued on the way they were. But I felt really supremely abandoned and just really alone through this process. So eventually I couldn't continue to keep up with the cocaine and the chemo at the same time. And so that stopped, and the party friends disappeared. And, but I still continued to drink that whole year of treatment, and I hid it. And I hid from the world. I hid from everyone. I was just like so deep in pain physically. And there was so much shame around my drinking. And so at that point, I was drinking like a bottle of wine, bottle of sake every night, and telling myself that it was like helping soothing some of the side effects of the treatment, because I had a lot of physical pain and like a ton of anxiety, insomnia, panic attacks, all from this treatment. It was just exacerbated with the drinking. And so I finished this year of treatment, and it was like, you would think you'd be like, I got done with this thing, like on with my life, but I was just in such a dark place, and I didn't really know how to re-enter life after going through that previous year. So I continued to drink more, and it really escalated. For probably the next year and a half after treatment, it was to the point where I was drinking a bottle of tequila by myself at night.
Wow.
And at that time, I had gotten back into the field of being a therapist again. And I was not a drug and alcohol therapist, but I was working with kids and families doing community-based work. And I was honestly like barely holding it together.
Wow.
And I still had a lot of the lingering effects from the treatment from that previous year before. Like, I couldn't write my notes. I would just sit in the office and cry. I couldn't put thoughts together. I was my boss at that time described me like my energy as frenetic. It was just like,
Right.
and, that went on for like about a year and a half. And I was at the place, and I'm just coming up on my 4-year anniversary of when everything just started to shift for me. And
Wow.
I posted something on Facebook, and an old friend of mine who I used to party with, and we used to, be up for days, had moved out here to Colorado. And I had been watching her on Facebook, and she had gone through this like radical transformation, and she just showed up and was like radiant and had this joy. And part of me was like, I want some of that. But then part of me
Yes.
was like, is that real? Like, that's fake. No one's really
Yeah.
that happy. That's not really a thing. And she and I hadn't been in communication, and we started, chatting on Messenger, and we got on the phone, and I ended up hiring her as my life coach. And I come from like the therapy background. I knew nothing about coaching, about this world. I'm like, who needs a coach to do life? I'm like, that's weird. And I had like no money. I mean, I had money to buy a bottle of tequila every night, but I had no money. So in my
Right.
head, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to afford this. I don't even know what this is. But in my spirit, like, I knew I needed it. And I was like, I'm doing this, I'm stepping in. And within a couple weeks, like, everything in my life just radically shifted. I put down the bottle. I really was just starting to love myself for the first time, because she was just offering me
Mm.
perspectives that I had never heard, and they felt really good. And so
Mm.
I think it was about a month or two into this whole process that I just had this knowing that I didn't need to take these medications anymore.
Mm.
I was a therapist on antidepressants for 15 years, and had all the tools, all these things. And something in me, it was just spirit moving in me, I didn't understand at the time, was like, you don't need this. And I was scared to death, because I had told myself, I'm going to have this problem the rest of my life. I'm going to be
Yeah.
anxious, I'm going to have this depression, and this drinking thing is going to be a thing like the rest of my life. And
Yeah.
I'd spent 3 months just slowly weaning myself off all my medications. And I remember there was my next appointment with my oncologist, and I came in there, and he had his prescription pad out. And he's like, "So what refills do you need?" I'm like, "I don't need anything." And he was like,
Mm.
kind of perturbed by it. And I was like, he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm loving myself. I'm eating
Oh,
well. I'm moving my body. I just like, it's just everything." And he didn't understand. Needless to say, at that point, I just started canceling all my doctor's appointments, fired all my
yes.
doctors.
Yeah. Fire your doctors.
And it was just wild, because, as I started to do this work to love myself and really look at myself and connect with my body started to heal as my heart healed. And it just turned
Oh,
into this beautiful process that eventually pulled me out here, a couple years later to live. And then, I came out here last summer, and my life is just like, my word last year was expansion. And I had no idea what was in store, but it's just like blown my mind. So
wow. Oh my God, Johanna, this is just so amazing. First of all, I just want to honor you and say thank you for sharing so vulnerably and so openly and so transparently. Like, this is exactly what we need in the world right now. People like you who have gone through such a dark night and come out the other side and still doing the work, but overcoming the shame and the guilt surrounding it and openly sharing your story. Like, I'm getting chills because it is so powerful. There's so many people that are probably in a similar situation that I'm hoping will hear this and hear your story and just derive some of the courage that you've found to make changes in their own life. So thank you for being on the show and sharing so openly.
thank you for the opportunity.
Oh my God, this is awesome. Beautiful. So I just want to just back up a little bit. And so at the beginning, when you were partying and you knew you wanted to do something else, you wanted to move into therapy, you wanted to move into drug and alcohol therapy. What was your mindset at that point when you first got into therapy?
Prior to that, I was a social worker. I had been in the child welfare system for years. And actually that was a piece too, because like I shared with you 10 years before, I was, dancing at the club, doing these
Right.
things. But there's a little lead up to all of this too, another little story. I was in my senior year of undergrad, and I was going to this little Christian college, a lot of rules, like you weren't allowed to
Mm.
drink, there was no sex, just very prohibitive. And so I was coming back to like my hometown on the weekends and living the normal college student life.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And I had shared a very intimate photo of myself with someone that I was seeing at the time who happened to be in jail. So didn't know. I was very innocent. I was pretty naive at this time. And I had watched movies and I didn't know you couldn't send these kinds of things to county jail. So this
Right.
picture got kicked back to my return address, which was my Christian school address. The picture fell out in the mailroom and I got kicked out 6 weeks before I was supposed to graduate.
Oh,
So
man.
yeah, that turned into like a deep downward spiral. And that's how I ended up with the club the first time. But
Mm.
what I did during that time was I continued to work on my degree. And ironically enough, I transferred to another college and they weren't really acknowledging the Christian college credits at that school. And it was going to take me another couple years to graduate. So after a year of expulsion, I appealed to this school and they let me come back. It was the quickest way to graduate. So for several months, I was commuting to this Christian college during the day, and at night I was stripping. And needless to
Wow.
say, I got my degree, and my dream job straight out of undergrad was like working for children's services. I wanted to save
Right.
these kids. It was just like my heart. So like I applied to this job and over again, and finally, like 6 months later, I got accepted. And so that was like me pulling out of that lifestyle, that part of myself, this dark place. Was I got this job, this career. So I spent these several years doing the casework, and then I went on to do kinship support, and I was helping families be able to take in kids that otherwise would go into foster care. And I loved it, but I realized what I was doing, I was just like linking people with services and
Mm.
kind of pulling them through the system. And I wanted to be the one. I wanted to be providing like direct service to people,
Mm.
really be like involved in this change process. So that's what prompted me to go back for grad school for clinical counseling a few years later. And I had and I graduated with honors. I was so proud of myself, and that there was so many things along the way that weren't really addressed. I was checking
Mm.
off these boxes, doing these things, but there was so much pain and trauma sitting underneath there that was never addressed. And in
Mm.
retrospect, I can look back and see that I so badly wanted to help others heal their pain, but I hadn't been able to look at my own and address
Mm.
my own. And I end up doing trauma work with clients. Yet I hadn't even touched on mine. I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm great.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't manifesting in these like self-destructive ways, I didn't think. So that was kind of what led me to that point. So
Wow. What an incredible story. And how many other doctors or therapists out there, are in the same boat who haven't addressed their own pain and trauma, but are treating other people and just prescribing medication and
yeah,
telling them the story. This is just who you are. You're going to have to be on these meds for the rest of your life, like they told you. That is just a tragedy. It's an absolute tragedy.
it really,
And but at the same time, like your intentions were
yeah,
whole and good. You
absolutely.
wanted to help other people. And so there's this fundamental disconnection between, the impulse to want to help other people, but not recognizing you need to love and help yourself first in order to have the foundation in order to help other people.
It's like
And that was, I think, what was missing for you.
it's like the healer heal thyself.
Yes.
And it's in so much of what we do in our society is so outwardly focused, like
Yeah,
on
exactly.
giving, all this. And it's like, we have to turn this back into ourselves
Mm,
first. We have to
totally.
look at ourselves because there's so many blind spots. And I can say, honestly, looking back, that I really didn't serve my clients in the best way, in the highest way that I could have, because I had all my own stuff in the way.
Yeah.
And, that was impacting how I was able to show up for them. So, um, yeah, it's like it starts here. We have to look because we can only take people as far as we're willing to go ourselves.
Totally. Totally. So you're working as a drug and alcohol therapist, and then you end up getting a DUI. How did you reach that point?
Which part? Like the
Well,
DUI?
well, yeah. So I'm just trying to, like, in case there's other
Yeah.
people that might be in a similar situation. They want to do good. They're outwardly looked like they're doing good social work or therapy or whatever it is, and then but on the inside there's turmoil or disconnection, and it drives you to drink something to numb that pain, and then you end up getting a DUI because you're so disconnected from it and you're not addressing it. Like, can you describe your level of awareness during that, and how did you end up at that DUI? Like,
I can say I had zero awareness, or
zero awareness.
even if there was awareness, I don't think I just wasn't willing to admit it to myself. It was
Yeah.
too painful. It was on the list of all the painful things I
Yeah.
really just wasn't able and ready to look at. And it was, and I had continued to drink during that time, but it wasn't so problematic, I guess. But I
Yeah.
was using it to numb, it was like socialization. And then right before that DUI, I got connected with this new group of friends. They were fun. We're going out, and like everything that we were doing was revolving around drinking.
Mm.
And I was out on a Tuesday night for a friend's husband's birthday party because, any reason to drink any night of the week.
100%.
So Tuesday night, and I go out, and I had 2 drinks over the course of the night. So I knew I wasn't drunk. And I was driving home, and there was an off-duty cop from a whole nother county. It was a state trooper from another county, pulled me over for like going over the line when I was turning. And it wasn't like I wasn't swerving. I wasn't like, obviously drunk or anything. And I knew not to blow. My job had always told me, don't blow if you get pulled over. So I refused, and I knew that's when I got put in the back of the car, and I was so mad at that cop for so many years. So I'm like, I wasn't even really drunk, whatever, but it was there for me. And, I'd gotten pulled over 11 months before that, and I was drunk, and I had a car accident when I was drunk. Cops came and let me call someone to come pick me up. Didn't even take me to jail, didn't arrest me. I was very clearly drunk. This person, it was someone I was dating at the time, came and picked me up, drove me around. He drove my wrecked car around to like leave it in a parking lot. We go to get in his car to leave, and I'm so drunk. I hop out of his car, jump back into my wrecked car, and take off. And he's like following me, flashing me with his lights. The same cops pull me over, curse me out, handcuff me, put me in the back, and let me go again. They impounded my car and let him drive me home. So, like that was not even a year before. There was opportunities. There was so many signs. And I'm just like, nope. I just kept going, just kind of forcing my way through my own agenda. And it was just really in my own pain. So there was an abundance of signs and warnings that the universe gave me.
And that's how it works. Like the universe will continue to give you signs until you learn the lesson, and they will get progressively more intense. And part of the reason I started this podcast, because I recognize and resonate so much with what you're saying. I was deep in alcohol for many, many years, using it to numb out from my pain. It was starting to deteriorate my body, and if you're not paying attention to these signs, eventually they escalate to a point where it's a DUI, or it's an accident, or it's a diagnosis, all of which happened to you, right? Or death is, it's, if you don't get the message, eventually you're just going to get taken out.
And that's where I was headed. That when I reached out to that friend who had moved out here to Colorado, I was suicidal. Like I had planned how many days it would be before someone found my body, and was planning how to kill myself. So it had gotten to that point. So yeah.
Okay, so this is so important and so beautiful for somebody else who might be in that situation. After the DUI, you've sort of regressed into your party, you go back to dancing. What was the next step for you? How did you develop enough self-awareness or enough courage to recognize, okay, this needs to stop, something needs to change?
So it was a coworker's Christmas party 4 years ago, right around this time. And I got drunk, and I passed out, and I peed the bed at her Christmas party. I woke up in the morning horrified, like so ashamed. And I'm sure that I have done plenty of other things in my drunken state that warranted shame. But that one was like, man, like I went to work Monday. I'm like, I'm going to pay to have that cleaned. I was just like, oh. And she was like, it's okay. It's no big deal. To me, it wasn't. I was like, man, something is wrong. Like, I didn't know what to do. And it's just like this divine intervention with this old friend, popping in on my messenger, and just, we got on the phone, just offering little tidbits, and just, I didn't know then, but I knew there was something there for me, and I needed to step in. And, it's interesting because I shared with you, I didn't know how I'd pay for it. I didn't know what it would look like. And it was just, trusting that deeper knowing. And as soon as I stepped in for myself and accepted the help that was showing up, Literally everything massively shifted in a very short time. So it was like, I was so worried, like, how am I going to pay for this thing? And I paid off that investment in just a couple months. Like, money started to come in. My health changed. I got off the medications. The nature of my relationships all changed. Literally every area started to like come into alignment. But it was just like, it was the coworkers' Christmas party, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. There's so much resonance with my story as well. Like, I was in that same position, finally decided like something needs to change. And as soon as you step into that power, as soon as you decide to invest in yourself, not only financially, but physically, mentally, spiritually, the universe now begins to support you and the people that you need to support you through that. And the same thing happened to me. I got an opportunity to go to Bali to a retreat that totally changed my life. I no way I could pay for it. I borrowed, begged, stole to just make the payment. And it's like, wow, as soon as you start to take steps in the direction of loving yourself and investing in yourself, the support arrives. And so I hired a coach, and I've continued to work with coaches over the years. Like, even becoming a coach myself, I still work with coaches.
Oh, me too.
You know, it's such a powerful relationship because, like you said earlier, there's so much about ourselves we can't see, and so much that we're programmed with, we're operating unconsciously. The coach, a good coach, will hold up the mirror for you and allow you to see your blind spots and ask you the deep questions and get you to shift your mindset and your perspective to something you couldn't even imagine on your own. Right. And so it's not, and there was a lot of shame or stigma, or even around the word life coach. Like, I hated that word. I'm like, who are these people that tell me how to live my life? Like, fuck you, you know? And so, and there's a certain amount of ego in that. It's like, I don't need anybody's support and help, but it's not about that. And I've shifted my mindset about coaching so deeply. It is so powerful when you find the right person and you resonate together and they can hold up that mirror for you. It's just transformational. But I think fundamental to that, and even before you talked about this sort of societal ladder that we're taught we need to climb, you know, go to school, get good grades, get a job, a husband, and a career, or whatever. You know, it's like, okay, I'm following. If I do this, I'm a good person. If I do this, I'm a good person in society. But it's supposed to lead to happiness and freedom eventually. But it's like a carrot and a stick. It's like you never get there. It's like, why do we never get there? And then that disconnection you talked about as well from our sort of inner being, our essence, our soul, our higher self. That's what causes, and this was true for me, causes that sort of disharmony within us. We're like, I'm following the rules, but I feel out of alignment. I don't, I feel kind of icky. It's uncomfortable. It's painful. I'm just going to go out and get drunk because it's easy and my friends are doing it and I can have a laugh and I can forget about my shit for a while. But okay, that's a short-term solution. But if you do that over time, which I did it for 30 years, it eventually becomes an unsustainable solution. And so, having the courage to take those first steps and invest in yourself are so challenging, but so important. So yeah, I just want to honor you again for like the work you've done and the transformation. Like, when I met you about 18 months ago, I could tell you'd been on a journey. I could tell you were like on the other side and just finding your way. And it was so beautiful just to witness you in those few moments. So amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. I love that you said that about the shame around like hiring a coach or hiring someone for support. And, and then you spoke to like having ongoing support with coaching yourself. And that's something I will not do without. Like, it's a part of investment in myself for my expansion. And so I can serve
100%.
Others on a deeper level. But I remember sharing with my best friend at the time that I was talking to this friend about hiring her as a coach. And she's like, what? And we're both like, this is weird. I'm like, I don't know about this. So I ended up hiring the coach, and I didn't tell my best friend that I was doing this work. And we were hanging out a couple months later. She's like, you have this radiance about you. There's this vibrancy in you that I have never seen. And I've been friends with you for like 20 years. I'm like, I hired her. She's like, what? And I'm like, yes. She's like, oh, okay, like that makes sense. But there was like so much shame. Like, I couldn't tell my best friend because like I hired someone for help, but we cannot do this alone.
Totally.
It's the hardest work to look at our shit, but it's like the most rewarding, and to have, like loving support through the process and someone to guide us through, just makes it just so much sweeter and easier,
I totally agree. And yeah, it's the reason a lot of people don't do this work, because it is scary. It is painful. It is uncomfortable because you're going into those dark parts of your soul that you haven't wanted to look at before. But if we don't take the time and the effort to look at those parts of us, they end up owning us. They end up controlling us because they're in our unconscious, operating without our knowledge, and they influence our thoughts, our behaviors, our actions, everything. And so unless we take the time to look at our shit, they will continue to control us. But what most people, or not most people, but the tendency is to look at it with guilt and shame and just want to push it away. And that's why you don't want to deal with it. It's like, oh, that's ugly and painful, and I don't like that part of myself. So I'm just going to distract myself with anything else: alcohol, drugs, gambling, sex, work, whatever it is. But if we can shift the mindset, it's like, wait a minute, this is a part of me. And it's a part of me that was there for a reason, usually to keep us safe when we're kids, and look at it with compassion and curiosity and love. It's like, okay, I realize why that's there. It was, my inner child trying to keep me safe when I was younger. And that served me for a certain time. But now the question is, does it serve me now? Right. And that's what coaching and this transformative work is for me. It's like, okay, let's bring everything to surface into our conscious awareness and ask the question, is this part of me serving me? And if it isn't, let's replace it with something more empowering, a different mindset, a different perspective. And that's how you change yourself from the inside out. Beautiful.
Yeah, I've noticed that myself. I dubbed myself the other week, like I do believe I've become a shadow stalker. I'm like, all right, this isn't working. This doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel aligned. Let's dig in. Like now I'm just like, to me, it's just as juicy and just as delicious. And like, I just want to dig my teeth into it as much as like the joy and the laughter and the fun parts of it, because it just uncovers more layers for us to access more of that fun and that joy and that freedom
100%.
To touch into this, and just like more space to open our hearts up and have more compassion. It's just like, I must have been really hurting when I did that, and just to be able to look back at it. And I'm like, let's dive head into this.
Right? Yeah, me too. And now it's like when I feel triggered or some unconscious reactive behavior comes up, I'm like, oh shit, look at that. There's another thing I can unpack. And like you said, it can be fun. It can be enjoyable. It can be rewarding, because like you said, if you peel back that layer and you uncover why it was there in the first place and you honor it and love it for what it is, then it releases and creates space for something new and beautiful to enter, which is the path to freedom. Yes. And so the more we can do this, peel away the layers of bullshit that we've been, covering up our essence, our higher self all this time, we just continue to expand. And that's, once you get on that path, rather than the path of going deeper into the darkness, then, life becomes beautiful and magical and expansive, and you don't feel the need to numb out with alcohol or drugs or distractions, because it's like, why would I want to dull this beautiful magic? And it doesn't mean that life isn't challenging, or life isn't hard, or, there aren't points where you are run down. It means you can approach those again with love and curiosity and surrender into them and allow them to be there and learn from those moments in order for you to grow even higher.
Absolutely. That's what, like, to me, like, not like before I used to, and I like cringe even saying this, but I used to say, man, the universe hates me. Because I felt like everything was working against me, and I was just such a victim to everything. We start to take this like radical responsibility for everything in our life. Even when you said, when like something triggers me, instead of like, you triggered me, like, oh, wait, that's mine. What is this I need to look at? And this is like this ownership. And we have this like high trigger society where, where everyone's like
pointing the finger.
Yeah. And it's like, it's ours. It's our shit to look at. It's our shit to love. And, 100%. And it's, we have like a lot of the self-help mindset. We're like, I have to fix this. I'm broken. And I love what you said about, it's really coming back to our essence. It's about peeling back these layers of like protection that we've put around our heart and around, keeping us disconnected from self and others. It's just peeling back those pieces lovingly and just coming back to like the fullness, the essence of like the beauty of who we are underneath all of life that happened.
Totally. And I think it's worth mentioning that, when we talk about addiction or pharmaceuticals, or when doctors prescribe you, there's this feeling, and a lot of my clients that I work with around sobriety, they feel like they don't belong in this world. That's so common amongst people who are depressed or suicidal or addicts. Yeah. They feel like they don't belong in this world. And it's not that they don't belong. It's that it's that like when we're born, we have this we're innocent light beings, and
Mhm.
it's the society that we're born into that sort of covers that up and dulls it and injects us with this darkness or this conditioning. And so we feel, when we're trying to be a good person in society, we feel a disconnection between what that means and what our truest essence means. And so that disharmony causes so much pain and turmoil within us. We just want to get rid of it. But when we think it's us, we think that it's us that's out of alignment, when really it's the society that we're born into that's out of alignment. That shit is crazy out there. So what you said at the beginning about going inward and getting in tune with what you feel, with your highest essence and your highest self on the inside, getting in alignment with that first, and then operating from that place into the world, that you become so much more in tune, so much more less reactive to things that are happening outside of you, because you're in alignment first. Does that make sense?
1,000%, and I'll tell you, like, that's why I say, like, cancer was one of the greatest gifts I was given, because really, like, when I can look at where it showed up and all the pieces, the elements of it, it was just pointing me to where I needed to heal. So all these
Totally.
messages that we get through our body, the anxiety, the depression, cancer, whatever it may be, it's just messages. It's just telling
Mm,
us what's out of alignment. And that's why I'm so grateful for this path that I've been on, because it's brought me to my body. And I feel like
mm,
there's a lot of people that have a really deep cerebral knowledge and knowing of, spirituality and these concepts. But for us
mm,
to be deeply connected to our bodies is to be able to have direct access to these messages as they come from, and to create this sense of safety, this, like, these people that don't feel like they have a place, coming back
mhm,
home to our bodies, to ourselves, feeling the fullness of ourselves through this beautiful vessel that we've been given.
mm,
um so yeah, that's what, like, my work has all been directed towards the body, and it's like, of course, with this path, but for us to be sustainable moving forward, because there's going to be some wild waves coming our way these next few
totally.
years with these massive changes. We really have to be grounded in who we are and who are in our center, and it starts with
Mhm,
connecting with our bodies, because up
mm,
here is so brutal.
yeah.
Yeah.
And being bombarded with narratives and messages and propaganda constantly, like social media, mainstream media. We're constantly getting
Yes.
bombarded, and so if we're living in our minds, it's going to drive us crazy. And it just polarizes into these corners where we think we know what's going on, and then everybody else is wrong, and so there's so much conflict externally. And like you said, coming back to your body, coming back to who you are and grounding into that is so important, especially during these chaotic times. So amazing work that you're doing. Really appreciate and honor you for that. Hey, are you feeling lost, anxious, frustrated by the state of the world? I get it. The world is a pretty messed up place right now. Maybe you're even distracting yourself from the pain with things like alcohol, social media, Netflix, gambling, shopping. I know, I did it for years. This is why I've made it my mission to support brave souls just like you in taking back creative control of your life, finding a deeper sense of purpose, and building a solid foundation of certainty, even in such uncertain times. This is exactly why I have created the Fuck Yes Club, a 6-week online journey for badasses who are ready to supercharge their powers of manifestation as the conscious creators of their own reality. This program is for people who are tired of living in uncertainty and fear, sick of living up to somebody else's standards, fed up with not fulfilling their highest potential. This is for the people who are ready to tap into their infinite well of creative power and start creating the life they have always wanted. We are in the midst of a massive transition. Great change is upon us, and we're being called to grow and evolve in ways that we may have been avoiding. Is it your time? Are you ready? There are only 2 answers here, people. No and fuck yes. If you are in the fuck yes category, then immediately go to www.thefuckyesclub.com right now for more information and to secure your spot. Now, back to the show. How would you describe your current relationship with yourself, and how has it changed over time?
Right now. I like to say, like, what
And see,
feels alive right now?
and I was, yeah, you just what you did right there is close your eyes and feel into your body. Like, how many
Mhm.
people would actually do that? They just say what's on the top of their mind. Well, I'm cool. It's fine. Whatever. But you closed your eyes and you actually felt it for a second. Like, that's a technique. That's a practice that
Yeah.
I'm witnessing you do. It's beautiful.
Where I'm at right now, I've honestly, these last 6 months, like, I'll tell you what happened back in May. There was another big incident.
Okay.
But these last 6 months, I've just been dropped into this space of just like total surrender.
Mm,
Letting go of how I think things should look or the way I want things to be, and just really dropping into this really beautiful flow of like what spirit has for me. And it's like, and that's why my body has been so key, because that's where we can feel like these holding, like all these holding
mm,
patterns and these resistance that we've created to what is. It's really being in the space of just what is and not having
mm,
resistance and not fighting it, and feeling into my body, noticing where I'm holding to this resistance and moving into it. And you know, when quarantine started, like a lot of my work is in person, hands on. I do probably half my work remotely, half in person. And I
mm,
felt the loss of that. And I felt that disconnect from people. And I just was like, okay, I don't know what this is going to look like, but there's only so much I can do. There was a
mm,
part of me still scrambling and trying to get, my calendar filled and trying to do all the things. And the end of May, I had done this weekend immersion with a shaman that had come in town. We just did some deep energetic work. And I woke up that next Monday and I could feel that my body was kind of off and I wasn't really like totally integrated back in, and went to go let my dog out. And I was going to let her in and I felt kind of queasy and lightheaded. And I laid down on the floor for a minute. I was like, well, I need to get up and let her back in. And next thing I know, I wake up face forward on concrete in front of my house, in front of my place. I wake up to broken teeth and blood. And I basically passed out face forward and like landed on my face.
oh,
So,
wow.
and knowing how things show up and how things work, we're talking about these challenging times, and like life isn't always easy. I'm laying there on the ground and knowing that my body needs to finish this whole trauma release. I just laid there and let my body shake, go through it. I was crying and I was laying there and I just said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Because I knew from all my past experiences, I finally learned that like whatever is happening is showing up for us if we choose
Mm,
to use it as such. It's all opportunity. And then a step
yes.
beyond opportunity, it's a gift if we open up
Yes.
to it. So I'm laying there with broken teeth and this pile of blood, chin busted open. I'm like, I don't know what this is. And I was scared, but just like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so for a few weeks, I was just going and getting body work done, just getting my face back into order. I couldn't really talk. I couldn't eat. I was in a lot of pain. And so I'd get the work done. I'd come home, sleep, and just journal. And knowing
Mm,
what I know and working with the body, that we hold so much. We hold so many of our memories, our trauma, those big traumas, the little traumas,
mm,
ancestral stuff, deep ancient wounds in our body, and that the jaw holds a lot. And I'm like, this didn't just happen. And
wow.
so for me, it became a journey of unraveling all these pieces that came out around like all the times I hadn't used my voice or spoken my truth or expressed myself, was in my fullest expression. And so opportunities started to come up for me to do these things. And as I did that, my body was like starting to heal, and get into alignment. And not only did it do that, but because I couldn't really work, I couldn't talk, I was at a standstill. And I'm like, Spirit, I don't know, like money coming in, what is this going to look like? I can't work. And just like, there's literally nothing I can do but take care of
Mm,
myself, do what I need to do to give my body the best conditions to heal. And I just completely let go. And I thought I had surrendered a lot at the beginning of quarantine. Oh, this was like a whole nother level. And I feel like it just dropped me into this current. And I just let my, let like literally open my body up and just like, I surrender. And since then, my life has just radically shifted. And it required some really difficult conversations, letting some people go
mm,
out of my life and really opening myself up to a whole new direction with my path even. And so I had this awareness a few months ago, like I was holding my face, this like part of my jaw, And I just started crying, and I'm like, this was a portal. Like, this was such a gift because it opened up so many layers of healing that I didn't even know were available. And in letting go of some of the people and teachers in my life at that time opened the door for this like greater expansion and path. So it, really it led me to start working with, doing some deeper tantric work and start working with plant medicine.
Mm.
And, it's been really beautiful to watch all of this come full circle because I was abusing drugs, numbing out,
Yes.
and to be able to come back around and use the sacred medicine that the earth
Mm.
has given us through plants and animals, and use this in a really sacred way, and in honor and reverence of this gift, and being so intentional with it and using it
Mm.
as a tool, has been so incredibly healing. And, I knew, we have these inklings, these knowings, and I had the knowing like a year or two ago that this was part of my path, but I still had judgment around it because some of my own addressed judgment with my past,
Mm.
and letting go of some of the people in my life, like in their judgment around it, it opened up the
Mhm.
door for me to step into this piece of my path in addition to what I'm doing, and it's all expanding and merging into this really interesting thing right now.
Mm, amazing. Oh my God, that's so awesome. So I love how you spoke about how life is happening for us, not to us. And even in our darkest moments, be it a DUI or face down in a pool of blood with broken teeth, if you can look at those moments, okay, this is a lesson, this is an opportunity, this is happening for me. It's a sign that I'm out of alignment somewhere, right? Rather
Yeah.
than dropping into that victim energy. Why is this happening to me? Look at what happened again. I'm not worthy,
Yeah.
and go down that road. You can start to listen to the smaller signals before it gets to the big signals, right?
Ideally.
Yeah, ideally. It doesn't happen for everybody. Most of us, need the slap in the face.
Mhm.
I had another guest who calls it a cosmic brick.
Yep.
You get hit in the head with cosmic bricks until one knocks you out and you can't ignore it anymore, right? And so paying attention, and that comes back to listening to your body, like really paying attention. What is
Yeah.
your body holds so much wisdom and trauma, and so listening to your body, what does it need? So powerful. Incredible. So you mentioned plant medicine. I'd love to go a little deeper
Yeah.
on that because I've had great experiences with plant medicine. Can you just, for maybe some people who aren't familiar with it, describe what it is and maybe what kind of plant medicine you experienced with?
Yeah, I'll share what first opened up for me was one of my tantra clients had mentioned to me over the summer that he was starting to work with combo. And I
Okay.
never knew what combo was until I moved here to Colorado. And it didn't really call to me, but when we started talking about it, it was like my body was like, we need to do this. Like, we need this. And
Yes.
I was thinking, because it's not like a lot of people think like plant medicines, it's like psychedelics, you're like,
Mm.
feeling this like direct connection with spirit in this like really beautiful way. And combo's not an easy medicine. It's the jungle's vaccine, basically. It's like
Mm.
forces your body into like a hard detox. And for me,
Mm.
knowing what I had put my body through for so many years with the drugs and the drinking and the cancer treatment, I was like, my blood could use some cleaning up. I could use a little extra, so I sat with this medicine the first time, and it wasn't easy, and kind of pulls you into this like warrior spirit. And I had been in this deep surrendered place. I'm like, I don't want to be in this place, but it was like a whole different level. And, I sat with it 3 times over 3 weeks. And I sat with it more for like the physiological aspect, just to, kind of clean up everything. And what I
Mm.
feel that medicine did was it literally cleared this like field, it's like clear this sludge from like my energetic field, and just started to give me this clarity that I didn't know I was missing until I had it.
Mm.
And it deepened my connection with my body, and just more energetically sensitive and just open to spirit. And it was not why I went into it. And then from there, it led me into doing some work with high dose psilocybin journeys. So I've been doing quite a bit of that journeying, like heroic doses. Um, I mean, when I jump into something, I tend to just go like all the way in.
Me too.
So let's
I'm
jump
an
in
all or nothing
like,
kind
so
of
it's,
guy.
and in that work, it some of that initial work in those journeys was me peeling back a lot of this conditioning this programming, the taboo about working with this medicine and being part of my path, because I grew up evangelical Baptist. My family is still very in the church, and they don't really understand my path. And in past lifetimes of being killed for, bringing forth my medicine, whatever that is. And so literally pulling this out of my being, this like deep embedded conditioning and fear of stepping in, and just like letting spirit just be like, just surrendering over and over in these journeys, and, peeling back those layers. And then in the third one, it became very clear, like, this is my path. And I got called to go to Peru. So this is like in the making now. I got up the next morning from that journey and went and turned in my passport renewal, expedited renewal thing. And literally as soon as that comes back, I'm headed down to Peru to sit in the jungle to learn so I can start sharing combo. Because I realized in any journey, and there's other medicines showing up on my path, 5-MeO, has created a radical change in the last 2 weeks of my life. Like unbelievable physiological changes. But knowing that I'm going down to Peru to learn combo, and I think it's really needed right now too, because it can actually kill COVID. Like there's something that we have here from the earth that can actually heal so much. And so it feels really pertinent for me to bring that back soon. And this is not something I ever would have guessed, that like stepping into this path as like a medicine woman would be for me, or, but it's like that surrendering to spirit, like this is what's showing up, feeling that resonance in my body, and just watching all these pieces come into place. So it feels really, aligned to me to start sharing combo, because the clearing that it creates for the other medicines after you, like whatever medicines you choose to work with after that, really clears it out for you to go in really deep. So yeah, this is like what's been showing up for me, like literally in the last 2 months. So
wow. That is amazing. I love it. What a beautiful journey, a beautiful calling, and you being open to it and following that path. It takes a certain amount of trust and courage. So I honor you for that as well, especially when you're coming up against a resistance from your family or your church or your community, where they're like, "What the hell are you doing? You're like, you've gone crazy," And so cultivating that deep sense of self-trust to follow your path and have the courage to take those leaps of faith towards your highest and best timeline is really encouraging, and it's challenging, frankly, and especially in this world. So amazing work you're doing. Just to back up, combo, for anybody who doesn't know, it's basically a poison that's extracted from a frog. And when you put it into your body, it causes like a severe immune reaction, where your immune system goes into overdrive, and it basically clears out all the toxins and cleans out your blood. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's extracted from a frog in the Amazon, and you put it on points on your skin. I got my like proud combo marks on my arm. You put these points on your skin, and it forces your body into a heavy detox. It's like lymphatic, cleans out your guts. Like you'll purge out like candida, metabolic waste. Yeah, I mean, it just like flushes your whole body, and it's not super comfortable by any means, but it's like potent and powerful. It's not a long time, but like within a half hour afterwards, you feel this clarity, this clean, like your insides are just clean. You just feel and just so open and receptive. So,
I love what you said about a clarity that you didn't even know was possible.
Yeah,
like
it's like you don't know how fuzzy it is until it's cleared away, or it's like you don't know the weight of everything you've been carrying until you drop the bags. And you're like, oh wow,
beautiful. I had another guest on the show who described it as like, if this is your highest self, your soul's essence, and this is your world, in between it is this glass, your lens, and the work that we're doing, this personal transformation work, is cleaning that lens, all the bugs and the mud and the gook that's on there that is covering up our truest essence. right? And we don't even know it's there until, like you said, you start clearing it away. It's like, holy shit, I feel so much clearer
Yes.
and clean, and this clarity is just profound. And then you just want to keep cleaning it, right? It's like, wow, what else is there? What else can I
Yes.
experience? What else, right? And then it becomes like, wow, this is fun,
Yeah.
this work. Wow, amazing. Yeah, great. So I wanted to ask you, like, on a more practical level, if there's people who maybe are not ready for plant medicine and are looking to make a change, what are some of the practices and techniques that you use maybe in your daily life to, stay grounded, healthy, and connected and creative?
I'll say like two like really foundational but really simple ways to really get everything like your body, mind, spirit into alignment is first of all gut health, because there's
Mm.
whole other layers of consciousness available to us and
Oh.
wisdom available in the gut, and that's why they even spoke thousands of years ago, like Hippocrates. And I've spent time studying Ayurveda, and I live in an Ayurvedic way with the way I eat, because they knew back then what science is showing, that so many of the our functions, like with our immunity, energy, mood, are
Mm.
all connected in the gut. It's not what's happening up here. We're throwing medication for these chemical imbalances in the brain. We can get the gut
Mm.
clear, like that's where our intuition sits. That's where these
Totally.
messages come through, trusting that part. So healthy gut is like so critical. And that's one of the things I started with. Um, and that's actually come through for me on some of my journeying, like how important this is. So
Mm.
that, and the second one, it's all has to do with the belly, is a soft, relaxed belly.
Mm.
If we can just sit and just take a moment and just breathe in through your nose and just breathe into the inside of your belly and just let it fill, just let it soften and relax, and just exhale with a smile. That's like my biggest, simplest tool. Breathing into the inside of your belly and just let it soften and go. We live in a society where
Mm.
everyone's like, tighten up your core, suck it in, whatever. This is where, like I was speaking to, this is where our wisdom, our intuition, like our knowing lies. We're closing off so many parts of ourselves in that process. So, like, let the belly go.
Mm.
And once we let the inside of the belly relax and soften, like the whole rest of the body follows suit.
Mm.
And
Totally, I could feel it. Just when you guided me through that breath, I just felt my whole body relax.
like
That was amazing.
letting that tender underside, inside of the belly just soften. That's why I always say, like, I feel like Buddha was always so happy. He had that big round belly. He didn't have abs. Like, let it go. So I teach this movement practice, and it's really the practice that brought me to my body. It's called bowspring, and it's beautiful yogic practice, but it's a postural alignment system where I teach people how to, like, literally walk, sit, and stand. So you can be just
Wow.
present in your body all the time. But one of the sayings that we have in this practice are long bellies have more fun, because you
Oof.
just let go of all that holding, all that tension. It's just like, ugh, none of it matters. So just
Yes.
softening the belly and getting gut health together, like the two like simplest components to start with.
Yes. Oh, those are so relevant for me. Like I said, years of alcohol abuse eroded the lining of my stomach. So gut health has been a big topic for me over the last couple of years, and it's still not fully healed. And then I love coffee, and so
Mm.
dumping acid on top of it, it's like, oh my god. So I've finally cut out coffee and I'm using probiotics that are amazing. And so, like you said, I notice when my gut is not healthy, my mood is lower, my clarity is lower, my focus, I'm irritable, I don't have as much creativity.
Right.
And then when I shift and I start paying attention to my gut and I really am nurturing it and getting the balance of probiotics in there, it's like game changer. Way more enhanced mood, lots of focus. I'm not tired in the
Yeah.
afternoon. Like, it's a big deal. It's like everything happens from your gut. Literally, it's connected to your neurochemicals as well. Like, serotonin is created in the gut as
Like
well, as far as I know.
85% of it.
Crazy,
Yeah.
right?
So,
So why are we not paying attention to that? We're just sticking pharmaceuticals in our brains
which
to boost
also,
serotonin.
really hurt.
Erode your gut.
Yeah. The SSRIs and all
Yeah,
that destroy your gut health. So it's like,
totally. Wow, amazing. Wow, Johanna, this has been so awesome. I'm so appreciative of you coming on. Maybe, do you have any like books or podcasts or anything you've listened to or read recently that you could recommend for our
What
listeners?
am I reading right now? I'm reading Psychedelic Mysteries of the Feminine.
Ooh, wow, that sounds
Yeah,
good.
I'm reading this book called "If Women Rose Rooted," and it's really just about our connection to like the earth innately that we've been so disconnected from, with the way our
Mm,
society is, and the wisdom and the gifts and the medicine that's available through the earth, and just really connecting with the soul of the earth and our
cool.
resonance. And what else? I'm doing a lot of work with like the deep feminine right now. This really deep
Awesome.
divine feminine work, and from a tantric perspective too. But what is the other one? And honestly, I have like 6 books over here kind of piled up, so I kind of just dig in. You know what I'm really loving right now too is taking the Radiance Sutras, taking those and just
Ooh,
like sitting
that.
outside by some water and reading those, and just like
Okay.
softening my belly and just feeling into that really beautiful flow of like what's available and what's around us all the time if we just slow down and tune in.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. Okay, one final question for you. If you took all of your experience, all the wisdom gained, and distilled it into one message, like one sentence, what would it be?
Hmm. Whew, okay, that's cool. Sounds like it should be simple.
It sounds like it should be
Hmm.
simple.
Trust yourself.
Mm,
You know. You know down in your deepest parts of your belly, you know. Trust yourself.
there you go. It is that simple. Beautiful. Johanna Conant, thank you so much for your time
Thank
today.
you so much, Patrick. It was such an honor to sit and share with you.
Beautiful. Do you want to let people know where they can find you online?
Sure. Yeah, you can find me at johannahconant.com and find me on Facebook. Like, I love new friends. Add me on. I'm always really just sharing, like, really openly what's happening in my life, what's coming up, just giving you like a reflection of how I live. Um, and yeah, so find me on Facebook, Johannah Conant, same spelling. And
I'll put those in the show notes so people can find you.
yes, please. Thank you. Yeah, shoot me a line and let me know, if you're connecting with me through this show, let me know. I'd love to, drop in and have a little chat with you.
Amazing. Johanna, thank you so much again for your time. Have a fabulous day.
Likewise. Thank you, Patrick.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. And if you enjoyed the show, please do subscribe, rate, and review. For more information and show notes, head on over to being-podcast.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, live your being.